Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robin Lane, and I am your school district moderator. I welcome you to the first or deliberative session of your 2016 school meeting. The second session will be held in conjunction with the town elections at this location on March 11th. At that time, we will vote upon the warrant articles that we are today discussing. Our job today is to prepare these warrant articles into their final form for the ballot. Please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now declare the deliberative session of our 2016 annual meeting officially opened. Let's meet our head table. On my left and your right are the following school district officials who will be introduced by Mr. Stephen Miller, Chairman of the Alton School Board.
Sitting right to my left is Peter Phillips from Sewell Kidder. Attorneys, we have Sandy Wyatt, our member. We have Chris Argyropoulos, member, and Marilyn St. Cyr, member. Joining us behind me is Kathy O'Blanis, who's the business administrator for Alton Central. We have Robert Cullison, who's the superintendent for Prospect Mountain. We have Dr. Maureen Ward, who's the superintendent for Alton Central School. We have Chris Blackstone, principal, Alton Central School. We have Jennifer Katz-Boren, Special Ed Director, Alton Central School. We have Jay Fitzpatrick, Principal, Prospect Mountain High School. And last but not least, we have Heidi DeFord, and she is the Business Administrator at Prospect Mountain High School. Thank you. And we have Linda Roy, Secretary, and School District Clerk. Thank you very much.
On my right and to your left are the following Alton Budget Committee members who will be introduced by Mr. Andy McLeod, Chairman of the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Robin. We have tonight myself, Roger Nelson, who's been acting as Vice Chair, Terrence O'Rourke, and John Markland, who came on midstream this year, and we thank him a lot to fill in. Mr. Hershey had a family emergency and won't be here, as well as Mr. LaCourse.
The moderator's rules for the meeting are: number 1, the moderator will not follow Robert's rules. The moderator will use the following general rules of procedure, whose main purpose is to keep the meeting moving and not get bogged down in procedural quagmires. 2, by majority vote, the voter can overrule any decision that the moderator makes and any rule that the moderator establishes. A voter can raise such a question as a point of order. 3, the moderator will take articles in the order that they appear on the warrant unless this body votes otherwise. 4, after an article is read, a motion must be made and seconded prior to any discussion of the article. The names of those making and seconding the motion will be required. The moderator will then ask for someone to speak in favor of the article and then open discussion to both pro and con. 5, the moderator will allow only one motion on the floor at a time, with the exception of points of order, a motion to amend the pending article by the person who has the floor, or a motion to move the question by a person who has the floor. 6, no one may speak unless they are recognized by the moderator and have the floor, with the exception of points of order. 7, everyone who speaks must use the microphone. Please start by stating your name. Please be aware that the meeting is being videotaped. 8, all amendments must be made in writing. Amendments to a motion, I'm sorry. 9, motions to move the question, limit debate, and require a 2/3 vote. 10, Non-voters of the town of Alton may not speak at the meeting without the permission of the voters, except the moderator will allow non-resident town and school officials and consultants or who are experts who are here to provide information about an article to speak. 11, all speakers must be courteous. The moderator will not allow personal attacks or inappropriate language. If you are out of order, you will be warned once. If you persist, you will be assisted from the building by the police officer in attendance. 12, all questions and comments should be addressed to the moderator. The moderator will choose who responds to the question. 13, with the exception of initial presentations on articles, which the moderator requests are limited to 10 minutes, all speakers in debate will be limited to 3 minutes. 14, each speaker may only speak once until everyone has spoken. 15, all voting will be done by a show of cards. If, in the opinion of the moderator, the result is inconclusive, a standing vote will be taken. A secret ballot will be used when required by statute or when requested by 5 voters present at the meeting during or at the end of the debate of the article. A motion to reconsider may be made after a vote has been taken and must be made by someone who voted with the prevailing side. A motion to restrict reconsideration of an article may be made after a vote has been taken. As we have in the past, I will call upon Steve Miller, School Board Chairman, to give the State of the School message.
Madam Moderator, point of order, please.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Clay, and since this is our meeting, I would like to ask that 2 of the rules be done away with. I'd like to ask that rule number 8, all amendments to a motion must be in writing. We have an attorney that we're paying dearly for. We have school administrators, it's being videotaped, and we have people taking notes. Doesn't it make sense that we can just stand here and make an oral motion? They can write it down. My concern is that if it's not done specifically, that you're going to do away with it. So I would like it, for convenience sake, for us to just be able to come up here, state our motions, and this is up to us, not to them. So I'm asking for your support for that one, to eliminate that one. And the second one, we have a very small crowd here today. Limiting debate to 3 minutes for all speakers seems quite ridiculous to me. Sometimes I get a bit verbose, I promise not to go on too long, but I would like to be able to speak for more than 3 minutes, so I'm asking that we change that to 5 minutes. So 2 reasonable requests. If my fellow legislators would do that'd be great.
Okay, these are my rules. I just want to remind everyone, by putting them in writing, it means I will get the message to the body correctly. And limiting debate is so that everyone will have time to get up and speak. It's fair. Do you have your motions in writing for this purpose?
I do.
Thank you. May I ask who seconded that? Kristen. Okay, we'll work on the first one. That is rule number 8 on motions to be made orally and from the floor. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yes, I believe the rule is in place in writing so that there is no doubt as to its intent and as to its accuracy. If it is just made verbally through explanation, it can be interpreted many different ways. I think it's important that there is only one strict interpretation, and that is by what is in hard writing, as opposed to what you heard last.
If I may. There is a law, and I believe it's a law, we could ask the attorney right here. We are not attorneys, but yet sometimes they try to twist things around on us. So what happens is, I believe the law says that we don't have to detail very specifics for exactly the reason Mr. Miller just said. You'll twist it on us. The law, in my opinion, says all we have to do is state what we believe the motion to be. We don't have to be real specific, and you folks have to figure it out and write it down.
These are amendments that are going on the ballot. It is important that having
That's
it in
correct.
writing.
But the gist of it, in other words, if I come up here and I say I want to make a motion to amend it, I want it to read 5%, that's fine. You folks have to figure that out. We're not experts.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Point of order, please.
Yes, sir.
The attorney would like to make a statement. Mr. Phillips?
This may have already been covered, but again, this is a rule of the moderator. That's the moderator's rules. If the meeting doesn't accept those rules, then the meeting can overrule the moderator.
Okay.
The district elected the moderator to do the job. If you don't like one of her rules, you can vote to amend those.
Yes.
I'd like to ask if someone does have a motion.
Could I have your name, please?
Peter Levitt?
Peter
Levitt?
Levitt.
Yep. If someone does have a motion or a change that they would like to propose, will you be allowing them time to write down that amendment?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you understand that your rule of 3 minutes may not help if
We're
people are
not
going to be-
discussing the 3 minutes
Okay.
right now. We're just discussing the motions.
Understood. I just want to make sure that we have time to physically
Yes.
write down our motions.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of amending rule number 6?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Madam, do we need a 50% vote or a 2/3 vote? I'm asking for a ruling from the moderator. Are we looking for a 50% vote or a 2/3 vote?
We're looking for a majority vote. So all those in favor of doing away with rule number 8, all amendments to motions be made in writing, please raise your card. All those opposed? That looks close. I think we're going to have to do a standing count. So those in favor of doing away with rule number 8, please stand.
Point of order, would you ask them to hold their cards up so
Yes,
they
I
are
need
registered
cards,
voters?
please. Do you have a count? Thank you. All those opposed to doing away with rule number 8, please stand and raise your cards. The motion fails. Okay, turning to rule number 13. Mr. Clay would like make changes from 3 minutes to 5 minutes for a speaker. Any discussion on that?
I have a question. If everybody speaks,
Exactly.
If someone speaks, then they can get another, if everyone speaks, the same person could get another 3 minutes. And you said yes.
I speak to the point with 3 minutes is plenty of time to get your message across. It's to be expedient. It's to let everyone here have a turn to speak. It is to stop people from repeating what they have to say over and over. It's to get to the point so we could move on and be fair to all. Any other discussion? I would also like to add, I'm very lenient about those 3 minutes as well. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, I'm going to read it again so we all understand. We're going to change the 3-minute rule to a 5-minute rule. All those in favor of changing it to 5 minutes, please raise your card. Thank you. All those opposed? I think we're going to have to do another standing count. I'm very sorry. All those in favor of a 5-minute rule, please stand. Raise your cards. $29, thank you. All those opposed to the motion to keep it at a 3-minute discussion, please stand and raise your cards. Where's my count? 36. The motion failed.
Point of order, Madam Moderator. May I ask for the total registered voter count in attendance, please?
Can we get a count of the number of voters that are registered here today? We're going to have everyone standing count.
She has it up there. The people check people in. should have it.
They have a list, they have to go through like 100 pages.
I still like that. I'd like to know the amount. The registered voter. I want to make sure it matches up.
While they're working on that, all those that are not registered voters of this town, may I please ask you to stand? Just stand, that's all. You have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go on from here, Steve, because we're getting bogged down.
Sure.
That's right. Okay, we're going to move on while we get the count. To the inhabitants of the school district in the town of Alton, qualified to vote in district affairs, first session of annual meeting, deliberative. You are hereby notified to meet at Prospect Mountain High School on 242 Suncook Valley Road in said district on Saturday, January 30th, 2016 at 1 p.m. This session shall consist of explanation, discussion, and debate of warrant articles number 1 through 15. Warrant articles may be amended subject to the following limitations. A, warrant articles whose wording is prescribed by law shall not be amended, and B, Warrant articles that are amended shall be placed on the official ballot for a final vote on the main motion as amended. This session shall also be to hear the state of the school reports of agents, auditors, committees, or officers, and to pass any vote relating to thereto. Second section of annual meeting, voting by official ballot. Voting on warrant articles shall be conducted by official ballot to be held in conjunction with town meeting voting on Tuesday, March 8th, 2016, at Prospect Mountain High School, 242 Suncook Valley Road in Alton. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. and shall remain open until 7 p.m. Now, on to the work of the day. I am going to read you Article 1, but that is what's going on the ballot.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
I have a school address. I have a school address.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Steve Miller, has chairman of the school board, has an address.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Moderator. When I introduced everybody at the school board members at the podium, one person who is obviously missing and very missed is Terry Noyes. She's not feeling well, and she's currently hospitalized, but absolutely getting better. And I ask everybody to keep Terry in your thoughts and in your prayers, and we look forward to seeing her, hopefully, at within the next couple of meetings. This is essentially, this is our report to the Alton taxpayers from the Alton School Board. We are pleased and excited to report that the state of Alton Central School is not only good, but getting better every day. Construction work on our new 6-room classroom addition, centralized administrative wing, and 20,000-gallon cistern was completed on time and under budget. Asbestos in the cafeteria has been removed and a new floor installed. Bathrooms were replaced, new efficient windows installed, and a new safety security system installed as well. Enrollment has continued to decline from a high of 613 students in 2006-2007 to 480 today, and we're looking forward to another drop of about 460 for the next year. That's our estimate. This is significant when you consider that today we have a pre-K 3 and a pre-K 4 that did not exist until very recently. As taxpayers, we are cognizant of the challenge of providing exceptional education services at a reasonable cost. We have made an effort to enhance communication to the community, which is evidenced by Principal Blackstone's regular column in the weekly Baysider concerning the important issues at Alton Central. We voted to approve Common Core as a minimum, repeat minimum, towards at ACS. Your school board is always willing to look at, analyze, and approve any standard that will significantly raise the educational bar and competencies of our kids. We have made a number of significant changes for the better, beginning with the hiring from well-deserved retirement of Dr. Maureen Wood as superintendent. Also, she comes with a highly respected background in school administration. She will be replaced by an equally highly sought-after and respected New Hampshire Principal of the Year and Blue Ribbon School winner, Pamela Stiles, from our neighboring town of Chichester. We are fortunate to have welcomed Chris Blackstone as our new ACS principal. Many of you already know Chris as a former selectman, budget committee member, gifted and talented teacher at Alton Central. Congratulations to Liz Lichtenberg for being named the New Hampshire Teacher of the Year. This well-deserved award has enabled Liz to spend the better part of a month touring both New Hampshire and the United States, representing and honoring New Hampshire and Alton Central School for excellence in education. Congratulations also to Kristen Thomas, who was awarded the Champion of Children Award at Alton Central School and subsequently the Lakes region. Most of our indispensable volunteers do much, but what Kristen accomplishes every year with a minimal but hard-working, dedicated staff is really over the top. Many thanks to Krista Argyropoulos for her many years as a school board member and past chair. Not many people can work as hard as she does, put in the long, extensive hours, while at the same time raising 2 kids and working a full-time job. Thank you, Marilyn St. Cyr, for stepping into a pressure-packed job when not many others would. Thank you, Terry Noyes, for giving your adult career to Alton Central School and Prospect Mountain High School. And thank you, Sandy Wyatt, for keeping the rest of us focused, on course, keeping the peace, and being so smart. Our goals for next year are to increase instructional time for our kids by adding another period per day, by lengthening actual seat time per day. We endeavor to make the Gifted Talent Enrichment Program available to more students for more days and for more hours. We'll strive to do whatever it takes to raise our proficiency scores to above New Hampshire averages. We will explore new programs and are willing to consider out-of-the-box solutions. We'll do whatever it takes to retain and recruit the best trained and most talented, the most effective, and most dedicated teachers and staff for every position, irrespective of years of service. I speak for the entire board when I promise you the kids come first.
Chris McStravick, town resident.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear your name.
Chris McStravick, town resident. I'd like to get the attention of the school clerk. It appears that we are out of copies of the packets, and with her permission, I will go make more. If that's okay.
It's not up to her, she's gonna.
Okay.
Do we have a copier? I don't know if we do you have a copier in mind, or?
Well, I know that there are copiers here at school. I don't know if we're allowed to use them, though.
I don't either.
I'm just asking for permission. If it's no, that's okay, too. Just asking. I would just want everybody to have the same information in front of them as we go through the articles.
The
Yes.
school board is authorizing you to use a ream of paper, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
On to Article 1. It's the election warrant. This year, we're voting for 2 school board members for 3 years, 1 school district moderator for 1 year, and 1 school district clerk for 1 year. That is what will be going on the ballot. Let's move to Article 2. To determine and fix the salaries of the school board in the compensation of any other officers or agents of the district as follows. Moderator, $400 per meeting. Clerk, $400 per meeting. Treasurer, $2,200. Chairman of the school board, $2,100. School board members, $2,000. These cost items are included in the operating budget. The Alton School Board recommends it by a vote of 4-0. Do I have a motion? Sandy Wyatt. Do I have a second? Marilyn St. Cyr. Who would like to speak on the motion?
I just make a motion that we accept the Article 2 as read by the moderator.
Any discussion?
I just made a motion.
I don't think that's on, Sandy.
I second.
Testing.
That one is.
Mine's on.
I just made a motion that we accepted it, Article 2 as read by the moderator.
If those didn't hear it, she said she wants to move forward with the article as read by the moderator.
Seconded by Steve.
Seconded by Steve. All in favor, please vote by raising your voting cards. All those in favor, opposed? Yes, sir. There is no change, you're correct. So hearing none and seeing none, I will take... Motion to restrict by Sandy Wyatt. Second, Marilyn St. Cyr. Thank you. Article 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. All those in favor of restricting for reconsideration Article number 2, please raise your cards. All those opposed? The motion is passed. Article 2 is restricted for reconsideration. Article 3. Shall the Alton School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth herein, totaling $14,924,547.00. The amount of $4,367,339 is the net appropriation for the Prospect Mountain High School operating budget, which is included in the gross budget amount listed above and recommended by the Joint Maintenance Agreement Budget Committee. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $15,020,238.00, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Alton School District or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. This warrant article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. The Alton School Board recommends $14,924,547 by a vote of 4-0. The Alton Budget Committee recommends $14,924,547 by a vote of 5-2.
Motion to move the article.
Motion made by Steve Miller. Do we have a second? Second. Kristen Argyropoulos. Who would like to speak to the motion?
I will. Thank you. The school board is proud to present the operating budget for the combined Alton Central School and Prospect Mountain High School of $14,924,547, of which $617,252 is 3.9% lower than last year. Both schools contributed to the decrease. The default budget is higher at $15,020,238. Should the operating budget fail, then we, the voters, would pay an additional $95,691 in taxes. Only two other school districts, and I believe I thought I heard Belmont, have presented a decreased school budget for next year. The reasons for the decrease are as follows. There was a decrease of students from a high of 613 about 10 years ago to approximately 460 students next year. This represents a 1/3 decrease in students, but only a decrease of 2 teaching positions and 4 staff positions. The declining student population does not accurately reflect that 10 years ago we did not have 2 additional grades, pre-K3 and pre-K4, which require teachers. As figured by the DOE, our average cost for education per student is about $16,000. We would like to see it closer to $15,000. To put it in perspective, at Guilford it's $18,000, at Governor Wentworth it's almost $17,000, and Barnstead it's close to $15,000. The majority is from the salary lines and the fuel lines, and the fuel items. This is the first year that I can remember that we decided it is absolutely time to align our budgets with current decreasing demographics. The budget is down even though we have added an additional 11,000 square feet of facility building space. We have not, repeat, not cut any programs. We are increasing instructional seat time and enhancing others like gifted, talented, and enrichment. We do not throw money away because we use zero-based budgeting. Instead of taking last year's number and adding an inflation rate, we ask the principal and superintendent to defend every line of an anticipated expense. There will be a number of non-renewals and reductions in force. Some have been notified, but because the exact number is still fluid, the rest will not be notified until we are absolutely sure of how many and who. 10 years ago, as I said, we had 613 students, 43 and a half teachers, a 14-to-1 ratio. Today, we have 484 students, which is 129 less, and 47 and a half teachers. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. Next year, we are guessing at a loss of about 20 to 25 students based on grade 8 graduating and pre-K coming in, and it looks like we're going to have one less pre-K class. We don't know for sure. We think. We will receive an estimated, this is an additional reason why the budget is down. We will receive an estimated $250,000 due to a DRA ruling that we gross appropriated the high school budget while Bonstead appropriated net. To be sure, we did the absolute right thing, and we asked for a DRA ruling on it. To make things fair, we are doing it on a net basis going forward, and therefore deserving of the refund. We also have moved $100,000 out of the Alton Central School operating budget by transferring $100,000 from the Special Education Expendable Trust Fund to meet our growing increasing sped expenses to specifically lower the budget. So we try to reduce the budget by taking money out of an expendable trust and moving it into the operating budget as a plus. Interest expense and principal on a 5-year construction bond also is lower due to straight-line amortization. Fuel costs should be more efficient by replacing to energy-efficient windows, lower fuel prices, replacing insulation at a higher R level, roof repair, and much better facility management. Prospect Mountain High School was also slightly lower due to a declining enrollment. What this budget accomplishes, first of all, it manages the significant and continued anticipation of a declining in school enrollment. It eliminates the need to reduce or eliminate existing programs. Let me repeat, eliminates the need to reduce or totally eliminate existing programs. Provides the best and most comfortable and safe facility that our kids have experienced in the past 50 years. And it puts the kids first, not the administration, not the teachers, but the kids. I see a lot of signs out there that say support our teachers, and I wholeheartedly agree and do. We negotiated a very favorable contract for the teachers this year, but I never hear anyone say support our kids. I do not see any signs that say, support our kids. It's about time we got this right, and all agree that the kids come first, period. Every decision we make, everything we do, the first question we ask, how will this benefit the kids?
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yes, sir.
Just a few moments ago, most of you up there stood up and said, we're going to limit. We don't want you to have 5 minutes to speak, all of us. We're going to limit it to 3 minutes, but how unfair is it that you let you folks stand there and go on for 15, 20 minutes, or whatever the amount of time is? You could have that much time to support your articles, but you limit us to 3 minutes. I find that inappropriate.
Please read rule number 13.
No, I understand what it says about amendments, but I'm just saying, if you're going to have that much time to do it, we should have enough time to speak on the issues as well.
Any further discussion on Article 3?
I do.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Locke. I'm an Alton resident, and I'm a grandparent to 5 children that go to Alton Central School, so I hope you understand that I do always put children first, since I'm also a principal of another school. But what I'm looking at when I look at the budget sheet, I don't understand. When you say that we have kept the programs intact, what I'm looking at on that budget sheet is that regular programs have been cut by $368,991. Technology has been cut by $112,328. Enrichment has been cut by $42,385. Co-curricular has been cut by $25,692, although athletics has been increased by $9,800. Summer school, $2,200. Health service has been cut, speech services, improvement of instruction, etc. So I think it's really important that the public understand your premise here, that you're saying that we haven't cut anything for the children, and I, as a taxpayer and a grandparent and a resident of Alton, is looking at this saying, well, how could you say that when I look at these numbers here? So what exactly are you cutting in these programs that you think it's okay? The $368,000 is being cut from regular programs? And why is it okay to cut technology? We don't have the technology to even give Smarter Balance testing this spring. We have to do paper and pencil. So therefore, to cut the technology budget is counterproductive. I just don't understand your reasoning behind this. I've always thought of you guys as pro-education, so I need to understand, because it doesn't feel that way when I look at this budget sheet.
Steve, you want to answer that?
Sure. Can I sit here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I'll address technology. We've already approved our budget to go one-to-one technology. I don't know how you can have more than one-to-one technology unless you have 2 computers for every person. Okay? We have not cut any technology whatsoever for any teachers. We have not cut technology, to my knowledge, for any staff. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard about it, if we have. And we certainly haven't cut any technology about our kids. What we're starting to realize is efficiencies of scale, where we have all the hardwire taken care of, where we have the right generators and servers in place. We have just reached that point where we don't have to wrap up constantly the technology budget just to have the latest and the greatest. In terms of gifted, you mentioned gifted talent and enrichment. We have expanded and improved gifted talent and enrichment. Here's how. Melanie Harrison will provide enrichment in areas of music arts for the younger grades in music arts, turning STEM into STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We'll also add the R, making STREAM. We're also going to include science, technology, engineering, art, math, and reading. In 2016, due to decreasing enrollment, the first grade will have 2 classes instead of 3. With the addition of 1 more instructional period per day, there will be changes in teaching assignments. This means that more teachers will be available to provide enrichment with greater emphasis on technology, engineering, math, and the arts. The current program is handicapped by a limited number of educators providing services. The new schedule will expand the enrichment and gifted program to include at least 7 teachers with blocks of time to share their strengths and talents with more students on a continuous year-long basis instead of the current 6 to 8 week intervals. For the first time, students will have access to electives such as Unified Arts all year. The enrollment of gifted and talented enrichment will be expanded beyond its limited number today, with the goal to be all-inclusive. Our goal is to have this program leadership managed by a fully credited administrator. And lastly, we have scheduled summer institutes for teachers a full 6 months in advance, and teachers are quickly signing up for these sessions. We are 4 months ahead of last year in preparing teachers for the upcoming Gifted and Talent and Enrichment program.
Thank you. Would somebody else, any further discussion?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mrs. Howard.
Barbara Howard.
Yes.
As I understand it, the delivery of the educational system is based on the number of students that we have to educate. the number of students being educated directly correlates with the cost of the education. If the student enrollment is going down, in my mind, it's pretty common sense that, of course, the cost to deliver the education to the adjusted amount of students would go down also. I applaud you for everything that you just said, Mr. Miller. Write that down. You probably won't hear that too often.
Hello?
Hi, Andrea Caruso. First of all, Mr. Miller said we have a one-to-one technology budgeted. That was for this current year. And where are we in that process? Because the last time I checked in, we still don't have the computers here at our school. So, you know, we're saying that we have one-to-one technology and we have this in our budget, but it's still not in the school system as of right now.
It was approved last year. We have the money, and as far as its rollout is concerned, I don't get into, you know, how it's being rolled out. I don't know what the purchase orders or bill of ladings look like at this time. I don't know when they're going to be delivered.
Can Mrs. Oblina speak to this? Have they been ordered?
The delay is due to preparing the infrastructure for the incoming new one-on-one devices. So they are working on preparing the network for this and making sure that we've got the wireless points and everything that we need in order to support this.
And do we
So
have
we just had a changeover in that department, as you're well aware, and that is something that's absolutely.
And do we have a time frame for this infrastructure, and do we know how much it's going to cost before we?
It's all in this year's budget. It's not part of this, and that's also part of the decrease that you see also in that as well. And just for the record, we did take the Smarter Balance last year on computers. It wasn't an issue. So it's been recommended that we go with paper. We actually get more instruction time by going with paper this year, and this is one of the years that we're allowed to do that by the state.
Okay, and so the follow-up question is that when something has been budgeted for, you know, this year, fiscal year 15-16, and it's not spent, doesn't that money go back to the general fund? How are we going to make sure we have those numbers rolling over to be
Whatever's
guaranteed
not spent
for computers?
does go, yeah, whatever's not spent, and last year I want to say it was 8, yeah, we can encumber money for it as well. So at the end of the year, if that purchase hasn't been made, I would hope that's not the case. It's going to be made in April, is what Kathy just told me. I'm on the tech committee. We haven't had a meeting, but I'm just going by what I've learned through budget sessions and stuff. But
so we guarantee we are spending that money that we allotted for computers this year.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's one thing.
Okay, we have to let the next person speak, please.
Is there a time limit on this part?
Can I have your name, please?
Sure, it's Jeffrey Clay. Is there a time limit on this part since it's not an
It's
amendment?
3 minutes. I give you leeway, but
I'm just trying to clarify. I want to understand.
I am not going to encourage disruption to this.
No,
I'm giving you the 3 minutes.
Can I ask a question?
Ask the question, please.
Okay, the question was on the 3 minutes. Before, it was only applicable to amendments. This is not an amendment, this is a discussion. Is that different, or is that the same 3 minutes?
We've already discussed it.
No, I'm discussing it. I haven't
That has already been voted on, we've discussed it, we're moving on to the next.
What?
I think he wants to discuss the article.
Are you discussing the article, or are you going back to your moderator's rules?
No, I'm discussing the article.
Okay, because that's a different question.
Discussing the article. Is there a
Yes, please, discuss, because you're up.
Okay. First of all, 2 points of clarification. The first line, it says up at the top, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately. Now at the bottom it says the same thing. This warrant article does not include appropriations or any other warrant articles. My question is, what about Article 4, the collective bargaining agreement and all the changes there? Is that reflected in this article?
No.
No, and we're not on Article 4 yet.
The collective bargaining agreement is a separate warrant article to be
Correct.
voted separately.
So is that going to change to 14 million X number of dollars?
No. No.
Okay. All right.
Okay, then,
I'm not done.
no, it's one question, then we go to the next person, and you can...
Those are not the rules, ma'am.
Thank you. You have...
Who's the timekeeper? You're the timekeeper as the moderator, right?
I'm being very lenient on my time minutes. I will not stand abuse or disrespect.
Who's doing that?
You are.
I disagree with you. Okay. So could you please, I have a lot of questions on this. I don't mind revolving back through the line here. With such drastic cuts, $600-something thousand, why wasn't that money used for an increase in teacher salaries?
Who would like to answer to that?
I'll answer that. Because we, quite frankly, with declining enrollment, are overstaffed.
What does that have to do, respectfully? I'll have to kiss something here, but
Because
respectfully-
our job is to, our job, you asked a question, our job is to
didn't.
prudently, okay, with good due diligence, manage the people's money. And we're not going to waste the people's money, okay?
Pay raise for a teacher is a waste of
Excuse
taxpayers'
me.
money?
I'm sorry. I'm done talking. I'm not going to. If he's going to interrupt, I'm not going to speak.
I actually have the floor. Madam
Are
Moderator?
you going to allow him to answer the question, please?
I actually had the floor, but if he wants to continue speaking, that's fine.
You asked your question, he was answering it, sir.
Okay.
The school board, the administration, has gone a number of years trying to retain and keep as many jobs as possible. Because of the significant increases going forward, and we extrapolate what happens when the grades move up to Prospect Mountain and the lower numbers of preschool and kindergarten coming in, it was determined that we did have the ability, it was determined by the administration, that we had the ability to provide the same or better programs to our kids with less staff. As in all business units or in all schools, there is a point where, quite frankly, you are just simply overstaffed. As an example, take music. What I'm aware of is that we had 2 classes of 10 kids each in music. Obviously, we only need 1 class of 20 kids in a music room. Okay? And especially when you extrapolate it going forward, that it may decrease the year after that. Now, I have no idea whether what's happening to the music staff at this time. I honestly don't know. I haven't heard a word. Okay, but I just know how many are in an individual class. So what we're trying to do is prudently manage the taxpayers' money, not waste it, but still provide our kids a superior education.
The question, it had nothing to do with the question I asked. Respectfully, I asked why was the money not used to increase teachers' salaries? And you're saying, your response to the board as a whole, he's speaking for the board, is that teachers are what? I mean, I just don't get your, I don't get your answer.
Okay.
Okay, allow me. I might have misunderstood you. When we go to Article 4, which is the teacher's contract, you'll see a significant raise for the teachers.
Thank you.
I'll let someone else.
Carrie Dugan. I'd like to make a move to change the amount of the school budget to $15,174,547, which represents a $250,000 increase in the proposed
I'm sorry,
budget.
they can't hear you. Could you just say the number again and go from there?
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Carrie Dugan. We move to change the amount of the budget, the school budget, to $15,174,547, which represents a $250,000 increase to the budget.
Do you have that in writing?
I do.
Okay.
Do you need to know why, or is
Who's
it
the second?
you good?
Would you like to say why?
I would like to say why.
We need a second, I'm sorry, and then we can discuss it. Who's seconding the motion? Okay, now we're open for
Okay.
discussion.
I would like to do that so that the for our teacher salaries and so that the new superintendent coming on doesn't have her hands tied if she needs to hire or needs to have more money for teachers.
Okay, we are going to work on the amendment. We'll do the amendment before we go further, right? So we'll work on the amendment, and then we'll go back into discussion on the article. So I will read the amendment so that everyone understands it. They move to change the amount of the school budget to $15,174,000, let me do this again. $15,174,547, which represents $250,000 increase in the proposed budget for salaries if needed due to drastic cuts, so the new superintendent has the ability to hire as needed. Do we have any discussion on the amendment?
Barbara Howard, we just heard that we're overstaffed, the enrollment is down. I don't understand why we would need this put in there.
Okay.
To me, this is crazy.
Christine Simone, I'd like to speak on that. We have a great staff at Alton Central School, and we need to keep people in positions that are for the safety of the children, such as the nurse's office. If the nurse is just one nurse and there's no aide there to help if the nurse needs to go to the bathroom or go out to the playground to get a student who's fallen on ice. We're missing those things in this budget. We're missing a second person sitting in the main office. Should the person who is in there full-time needs to leave or something like that, there is nobody there to back that person up. And if we should ever have an emergency at that school, we need to be sure we are fully staffed to be able to act on that emergency. And just for day-to-day things that go on, things are crazy in the morning, they're crazy in the afternoon, you've got all sorts of things going on during the day, we need to be fully staffed at that school. And I understand and I appreciate you trying to lower the budget. As a taxpayer, I love that. But as a homeowner, I don't love that because my property values will go down if we have an unsafe school or if our children are not getting what they need. They need to be receiving their services and they need to have smaller classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Is that next to you? I'm not sure who was next. Hi, my name is Connie Racine, and is it my understanding that there's an emergency fund in case something happens and we need to hire someone? Is there money put aside for that?
We do put money aside. I don't know what the balance is at this time. That would, okay. The advice from the business administrator is that additional personnel does not constitute an emergency, according to the DRA. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot where you were.
And lastly, being experienced as was Sandy Wyatt with school nursing, we can very well multitask. I've never seen a safety issue at that school, and I commend a nurse who worked with 600 plus students, which was myself, and Sandy, and we didn't have help. And I just want to say that I have no doubt that the nurse who's there or who the nurse will follow her can handle any task, and there will be no issues with child safety.
Thank you. Yes.
Pamela McLeod. Mr. Miller stated that nobody's here for the kids, but I would like to point out that these are our children in the school. Those of us who have followed the budget process through the year, everything seems really murky this year as to where the cuts are, how much cuts are for staff, what the actual increases are for administrators, and there are a lot of increases for administrators in this new budget. We've had cuts not only to the nurse's office, to the Gifted and Talented Quest program, to the main office. People have been cut this year and not rehired. It all seems very deceptive and very, very murky to those of us as parents. I think we'd be happy to amend that number a little bit lower if we had a really good understanding of what the actual staff cuts were without the administrator increases included in that number. You know, we don't want to tie the hands, we're losing valuable programs, and we don't want to tie the hands of people going forward. I did the scheduling for the school several years ago, say 6 or 7 years ago, and what I've seen so far of the schedule next year, I'm not sure is sustainable. I think there may be grievances in the schedule. There is not a consideration of common planning time for our teachers. The draft schedules are just starting to come out, but you know, what happens if a change needs to be made later in the year when the schedules get more firm? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody who wants to go ahead and give us more money to provide whatever, you know, we are still going to make a decision based on an educational priority, not necessarily just on a fiscal priority. Here's some extra money, please go spend it. If every single dollar that we spend has to be on behalf of the kids, but it still has to be prudently spent. Just to if the goal here is just to retain jobs, then what I'm saying is I believe you're putting the teachers ahead of the kids, because we put the kids first. And if we think that they are being not just adequately but exceptionally serviced, and quite frankly, at least that's my standard, and I think I speak for the rest of the board, that's how we're going forward.
In response to that, Mr. Miller, Andrea Crusoe, I think that the board's idea of prudently spent and the townspeople here, the parents who've been very upset this year, it's a completely different definition. Just to say that, is that the parents want an investment in their future, and we haven't asked for these tax cuts for our kids. I'm very happy with my taxes. I'll pay more if it means my kid has her gifted and talented time still. And so that's, and so, you know, to speak to this amendment and why we're asking one PE teacher to do 480 kids, I think is too much. To ask the person who's been teaching PE in the building, PE and health in the building for, I believe, 17 or 18 years, and now those health classes are going to be taught from maybe by the art teacher, instead of the person who has been teaching the class for 17 years, that's problematic in my eyes. Extremely problematic. So yes, I would like the money to be in there so that we can possibly hire another phys ed teacher, so that the person who is currently teaching phys ed and health can continue to do so in the incredible manner that she does.
Thank you. Yes?
Christine Simone again. I would like to differ with Connie Racine. I worked in the Alton Central School for over 11 years, most of the time in the main office. There have been several occasions where the nurse by herself would have to leave children in that nurse's office by themselves, so I would have to leave the main office to go and sit with these kids so she could go out to the recess for an emergency, which left the main office unattended. Now, you cannot do that. You think that everything is all nice and smooth in the school. It's not. You're dealing with children and families. Things happen. You have to be ready for those things to happen. And by just cutting people whose salary, they're not huge amounts of money. You know, and I appreciate the fact that you want to cut money from the budget. I really do. But I don't want to see it affect safety, education, and it's just, we need to keep that money in there to retain the staff that we already have. We don't need to hire new teachers. We need to retain the staff that we have.
Thank you. Well, you've been waiting, so.
Amanda Francis, Alton taxpayer and resident. I have two things to say. I would like to, again, I don't think I need a mic to actually be able to hear me, so I can actually speak and project very well without.
Please speak into the mic and please speak to the moderator.
Don't be rude. Second, again.
You do have to come a little closer to the mic, though.
Is this good? So, being a nurse myself, knowing that the nurse in the office, if she has to leave and there's a student in there, they, God forbid, have a seizure, they have something, and she's out attending another student for whatever reason in a classroom, out on a playground, if there is a person, unqualified person in there attending one of those students in that office while she's out attending another student, and it's not okay. You need to have qualified people in there, and I agree that the nurse in there is very qualified, but there needs to be somebody else in there that is qualified to take care of students if there is an emergency. Second of all, why are we counting pennies against our taxes? I do appreciate having low taxes here in Alton. I pride myself on that. I brag about that. But when it comes away from our teachers who are teaching our students, we have the teacher of the year. We have the STEM teacher who does wonderful things, just did wonderful things for our first LEGO League. We have many numerous teachers that I can keep going through and saying how wonderful we are. Why do we not increase their salaries a little bit for recruitment and retention to have wonderful teachers here at Alton? It's our children that we are thinking of. If it comes to pennies in my tax dollars, I'd be more than happy to pay for it. And I think every one of you should be able to too, because these are our children for our future.
Thank you.
My name is Kim Mockery. I'm a taxpayer. I have some concerns about statements that our school is overstaffed. I am a paraprofessional at the elementary school, and I work with children with special needs. They all have a legal document called an individualized education plan that lays out what is required for their education services. This is a legal document. I'm sure you've all seen one. It's signed by the school and the parents. And the concern is that the children are not getting all their services. They have to get a minimum amount of assistance. As the plan lays out, they could get, 30 minutes per class, 15 minutes per class, and so on. And if we are overstaffed, if you're saying we're overstaffed, I don't agree, because I see students that are not, there's not enough staff to meet those needs. There's not physically enough people in the building to meet all these requirements. And if a paraprofessional calls in sick, that person could be helping 5 students in a class, and if they call in sick, there's no substitute. So then those children don't get their services. It should be in the budget, and I'm just concerned about the special ed children getting what they need.
Thank you.
And I'm also concerned as a taxpayer because as a community, we should want to attract people with a good school. And if a family is looking to move into a town, the first thing they look at is the school. So that's how I feel as a parent, and I think it's really sad that we're just concerned about lowering taxes and our enrollment is going down, and we need to find ways to attract more people to our town and make our schools better, not try to cut it down to the bottom line.
Thank you. I believe you were next.
Carol Locke again. I want to urge you, Mr. Miller, to stop saying we're doing this for the teachers, please, because every time I've come to a meeting, it's not for the teachers, it's really for the children, and I think you know that.
I'm sorry, we need to stop that right there. That's a personal
Okay, but I do want to make another point. Okay, so the bottom line is that We have a new superintendent coming in. I did meet her. I applaud you for hiring her. I think she's going to be wonderful. And so my feeling is that we need to get her advice about cutting before we do too many cuts. And so therefore, I do understand why you want to make change. I totally understand that. And I understand your rationale. I'm not trying to dispute that right now. I'm just saying that she should have the freedom to make some changes without being restricted by budgetary reasons. And that's my urging, is to vote for this amendment so that we can give her that freedom to do her thing as a blue ribbon principal and as a superintendent that we trust to go forward with.
Thank you.
Anna Ransom, taxpayer. I do have a question on the Gifted and Talented program. At the beginning of the presentation, Mr. Miller spoke pretty extensively about how that program would in fact be expanded beyond just the STEAM, or STEM to STEAM to STREAM. How exactly do you plan to make that happen?
I'm
with a
sorry, we're
reduced
speaking
budget?
to the amendment.
Okay, that's
Right,
fine.
right.
Let's take it from this angle. We keep talking a lot about a decrease in enrollment. We need to decrease the budget because we're decreasing enrollment. Have we done any investigation into why? Because in recent weeks, I've heard several conversations about parents pulling their children from school for the sole purpose of homeschooling them because of the climate, because of the conditions of what's happening in the school right now. We need to investigate that. Additionally, if we have a declining enrollment, that's okay. Let's look into that. Let's be fiscally responsible. However, just because enrollment is declining doesn't mean that needs are. How many of the students in our school have an IEP compared to 10 years ago? What is that ratio? How many kids need additional services? As a parent of 3 children in the school, I can tell you that one of them is in the Gifted and Talented program, and she's excelling and she's doing very well. She came home this week talking about her experience with Mrs. Lichtenberg, and in the last few weeks, she's been working on a solar system project. And yesterday, she came home and she said, "Mommy, let me tell you all the things that I learned." So I wrote them down. Sure, she's studying math, and she's studying science. But in her experience, she also learned about critical thinking, teamwork and collaboration, project planning, research, knowledge application, proper use of communication.
I'm sorry.
Communication.
I need to cut that short because this is not...
Let me finish. I'm getting to my point.
Please.
The programs that we have may not be the cheapest programs, but they're offering the best education. So why are we cutting them? On the other end of the spectrum, I have another child who is a very high candidate for needing an IEP. I want to know that the needs of both of those children are being met. And if it means that we're cutting dollars and cutting their experience, that's not acceptable.
Thank you.
Sarah Grasso, town resident. One of the concerns that I have, you keep saying that we need to cut down. I've heard that you were going to be cutting staff in the office, staff in the nurse's office. I have a degree in education. I understand education. I have taken time off to be at home with my children. And one of my concerns is just in that short amount of time that I have been home in the past 5 years, the security and safety issues at the schools have increased and changed enormously. I used to be able to walk into the building that I taught in, no problem, no questions asked, just walked in. Parents could walk into the office without anything. Now, when I go to Alton Central School, I have to be buzzed into 2 doors, which I think is fantastic because unfortunately, in this day and age, safety is a major concern. If you start limiting the number of people that are going to be in the main office area, if you're saying that, oh, if the nurse needs to go out to the playground, we can have one of the secretaries can go down to the office down to the nurse's office to take care of someone. That's going to eliminate someone from being in the office. Just the other day, I had to go into the building. They were down 1 secretary. They had to buzz me in from 1 door. She was on the phone with someone else, had to ask them to hold so that she could go over to buzz me in from the other door. So it made a longer time. If someone had not been in the office because they were busy tending to someone else, I would have been standing out in the cold waiting. And if that had been an emergency where I needed to get to my child for whatever reason, I wouldn't have been able to do so. I'm just bringing up a point that that safety is a concern, and I'm supporting the addition of this money so that the safety of my children that are going to be attending this school, one who is and one who will be, is in my best interest. I'm sorry. I love my children, and that's why I am here.
Okay, thank you. We will speak to the moderator only. Thank you.
Christine Simone again. One quick thing, maybe if we need to cut administration salaries, because if there are less children in the building, we have less work for them to do. Just a thought.
Thank you.
David St. Cyr, a resident taxpayer. The unfortunate part about this whole discussion is that whatever money's put in the budget to raise the bottom line, by law, can be used anyway the school so decides. You can't designate it for a specific line item. All right? You're talking about increasing the bottom line of the budget.
Exactly.
And that's it. Okay? If you want to have that kind of control over this budget, then you need to change the process. The process of SB 2 says you can't do that. Now, if you want to have a general vote or a warrant article to change from a SB 2 school district to a regular traditional school district meeting, then you need to vote that in. Then you can come in here, and then you can have an item-by-item discussion about your budget.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Okay?
St. Cyr.
All right? My point is, you can't tell the school board where to spend the money.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Move to reconstruct consideration.
No, we have to vote on the amendment.
Oh, amendment, I'm sorry.
Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, please raise your cards. All those in opposed? It looks to me like the amendment passes. The amendment passes.
I'd like a recount, please.
Okay, Mr. Miller would like a recount, so may I ask all those in favor of the amendment? Please stand. May I get my Des, Mark? In favor? Thank you. You may be seated. All those opposed, please stand. Tw- 26? I'm sorry, have we got a tally of the amount of voters that have registered here today? 83 checked in? Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's what I need to know. Okay, the amendment has passed. Now we will, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. We're working on the amendment at the moment. Yeah, thank you. Is there any further discussion on Article 3 now?
Madam Moderator?
Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. The tally was 45 for and 26 against.
No, not on the amendment.
See if there's any discussion
On the article.
as amended.
No.
And then if not, then
Now, is there any discussion on the article as amended? That's what we're working on now.
Right. Madam Moderator?
Yes, sir.
Andy McLeod. I want everybody to understand, and Mr. Miller and I have had this discussion in the past, that when money gets added into something from, let's say, the Budget Committee to the school board, there's a tacit understanding that the school board shall move in the direction that the Budget Committee recommended. In this case, the townspeople have voted to give $250,000 to preserve a level of teaching at the school. I don't think that they're going to buy $250,000 worth of Frisbees with it. And I think that just should be stated explicitly. Now, I'm sorry, the lawyer, I'm sorry, your name, sir?
Peter Phillips.
Peter, may correct me on that, and ultimately, that's potentially, it's up to the school board to use the money however they want. However, there's a tradition of no means no, and I extrapolate that into this sort of situation. We've given you $250,000 to preserve the teachers we feel are going to get shot down.
Well, the point was made earlier, this is a bottom line budget. The school board is the governing body. It determines how that money is spent, unless it's a special warrant article or, in this case, it is a bottom line budget, and the board will ultimately determine how that money would be spent.
That's right. So at this point, does the board have anything to say?
Yes, well...
No, I'm sorry, you can't.
Okay.
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
The amendment, right here. Yes. Yes?
I've already spoken. He hasn't spoken yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Roger Nelson, taxpayer. The prior fiscal year, on a $15,200,000 or $20,000 budget, the school board returned $777,000 of unused funds. Of that, $250,000 was an accounting situation. Now we're going to use that $500,000 plus another $250,000 on top of the budget for this year. This seems a little bit out of line.
Thank you.
Barbara Howard, I'd just like to go on record, Mr. McLeod. No one gave the school board. It was the taxpayers through generation of taxes from the private sector workers who generate taxes that the money, that is where the money is coming from. It's not a gift from the sky. I'd also like to say that, you know, there's an awful lot of people that don't run for school board, that are not qualified to be administrators, that have not put their name in to be superintendent or in any of the positions where the money is scrutinized and a job is done, but yet they still feel as though they should have the say, the absolute say, and that's what I'm hearing today. And, you know, we keep hearing it's for the teacher, it's for the children, the children, the children. Well,
I'm
no.
sorry, we need to stop it right there. It's
Okay.
getting to be an attack mode, so.
Well, I just want to say that this is just to preserve their friends from not having employment when the ratio is going to be 10 to 1.
Way out of line, right. Yes.
I'm waiting for discussion to continue on the article. Are you all done with the amendment, discussing it?
The amendment's been voted on and passed. We're discussing the article with the amendment.
All right. The article with the amendment, in my opinion, I rise in opposition to it, and it should be done away with, and I hope the voters will not support it at the polls. And the reason is this. You look at the administration and the pay raises that they have received over the last several years. New superintendent, huge pay raise, going from part-time, full-time, still a huge pay raise. Our current superintendent, pay raise, decrease of hours. The special education director, huge pay raises. Pay raises, pay raises, pay raises for the administrative staff and virtually nothing for the teachers. So therefore, I rise in opposition and say this is a shameful act, especially when I hear about all the money that you saved, $600,000 here, $700,000 returned, etc. You're doing an injustice to the students, to the staff, to the community, to the children. If you don't believe me, look at the decline in enrollment. It is beyond time for this board to realize that you cannot. How many of you received a pay raise?
I'm sorry, you cannot direct to the board.
I'm directed to you, Madam Moderator. How many of these people do you believe received a pay raise in their private firms or communities, in their private jobs?
That has nothing to do with the warrant.
It does. It's my opinion, and I'm speaking to it. Thank you. The point is this. It's time for them to receive a substantial pay raise. This does not. And you have an abundance of money if you can continue to give pay raises to the top people and have all this extra money left over. Why are you not giving them a pay raise? And with that said, I'm going to make a motion. I am making a motion to amend this total amount to increase by 3%. And I don't care what anybody else says. I want the 3% to be used for a pay raise for every teacher at Alton Central School exclusively, not
You
part of the
cannot
other.
change the reading of the warrant.
I want to increase the total amount by 3%, and I hope the school board will use it to give a pay raise to every teacher at the school.
You can make a motion to raise it by 3%, but you cannot direct where that will go.
I understand that. Okay, that's what the attorney says.
Well, I don't know what, you probably want to give a sum certain. I don't know what 3% is, what the number is, how you.
Well, we mathematicians, we have a school, very intelligent people here. We have an amount of what, $14,924,500. So I'm making a motion to amend that amount to show an increase
I'm sorry, with the amendment, it's more than that, sir.
of 5%? 5% of 14 million?
Is your intent to
The
make a...
article with the amendment now brings the amendment up to 15 million. Thank you.
Point of order.
15,100,000.
Point of order, Madam Moderator.
Yes.
The amendment has to be in writing. I think we decided
Do you
that.
have the amendment?
I have it in writing, but I'm
Okay.
speaking to it right now, and I'm going to hand it to you. It indicates a 3% increase.
Okay, can I see the amendment?
Sure. I can read it for you, to help,
Well,
I can explain it. I want to increase the total amount by 3%.
I have another number of concerns about this motion. Just on behalf of, as district council, I just got to lay it out here for the voters, and ultimately it's for the meeting to decide how you're going to proceed. But number one, it's the bottom line budget. We're on the budget article. The budget itself, not the default budget, but the budget itself can be amended up or down. But you cannot tie certain monies to particular purposes under this article. Number one. So even if you were to even if you were to make a motion to amend the budget by some certain, and I don't know what the amount would be, you're actually saying that you want to increase salaries by a certain percentage, and you'd have to actually get the total salary number, and then get the amount of what percentage of that would equal the amount you're looking to do. Number one. But number two, the law is crystal clear that teacher salaries, the employees are organized under the collective bargaining statute in this state, and the law is crystal clear that the governing body, the school board, negotiates a collective bargaining agreement with the exclusive representative, the Alton Education Association, and the only way in which teacher salaries can be adjusted is through collective bargaining. I do believe there's an article that's being presented to voters today for consideration and discussion, and will be voted on in March, that does call for teacher raises in a some certain amount. So even if the meeting were to feel it's appropriate to adjust teacher salaries by some other amount, it's unenforceable by law.
And I've already addressed that, and I've modified that in my motion orally. I already explained, I just want to increase the amount, total amount, by 3%. We'll let them figure out later what to do with it. I've already stated that. So my motion is to increase the operating budget as amended by total of 3%.
Well, the document you presented to the moderator doesn't reflect that. It says,
And
it
again,
says
the law-
5%, I believe, but,
I explained to the moderator before, it was 3. It was supposed to read 3.
yeah, and then it goes on to say, for educators employed at the Alton Central School. And again, my opinion to the meeting
again-
here would be it's unenforceable.
Well, let me write it out again for you then.
All right. Yeah, I think if you want to amend that number, you've got to give the number. You've got to give the number to the moderator so that she can inform the meeting as to how much you're looking to amend or adjust the number by. Well, what is that number, though? Well, I think if I'll leave it to the moderator of the meeting to determine whether you want that number.
Okay, we have an amendment to Article 3. Okay. Mr. Clay?
Yes.
Where are you? Oh, sorry. I just want to make sure that this $455,000 that we're talking about, that's in addition to the $250,000 that we just...
As amended, yes.
As amended. Okay, do I have a second on that? I'm sorry it failed.
I'm sorry for the teachers, too.
Okay, do I have any further discussion on Article 3 as amended?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Raymond Howard. Do we not have a contract with the teachers? I don't understand what this discussion is about if we already have a contract and a new one coming up. And I'd also like to just comment on the fact that I've heard a lot of people get up and say they don't know what the budget is or what's in the budget. Well, it's all laid out here. Read it. It tells you what money is going where. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Article 3 as amended?
Motion to restrict?
I'm sorry, I think I got one more.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, Andrea Caruso. So two things. I know that it's not quite the discussion time for Article 4, but if Article 4 does pass and there is a longer school day next year, how much extra money will it cost in support staff? I don't know where to find that in the budget.
I'm sorry, I can't, that does not apply to Article 3.
So, but it would be an Article 3 item, because they'd have longer working days for administrative assistants and paras and so on and so forth. So that would be part of Article 3.
So you're asking for how much that is?
Yeah. I don't know, or you can direct me to where to find it in the budget, because I'm not sure where to look.
Dr. Ward says that amount has not been decided yet.
So we have an undetermined, so where is that money then going to come from?
General,
If it's,
general and special ed, the usual.
So
Out
it
of
would
the
be-
1,100 account and the special ed account.
So 1,100 in special ed. Okay. And then the second question I have is from the minutes from January 11th school board. There's a consulting contract, and it has an unspecified amount. They said the school board voted to have probably a part of a consulting contract, and there's no amount attached to that. And so where is that in the line item for the budget?
The amount that has been budgeted for that is, one second. No. It's a maximum of $10,000, but I believe it's 8,000. Here it is. It's a total of $8,080.13.
$8,080.13. And so was that put out to bid because it exceeds the $5,000 threshold? Normally, anything that costs over $5,000 is put out to bid.
No, it was not put out to bid.
And why not?
Because,
This has nothing to do
I'm
with
sorry, this
warrant.
is not a school board
Yeah.
meeting.
I'm sorry, that would
I'm
be
sorry.
brought up at a
But
school
it's
board.
our money. It's our money in that line item. So it's normally it's a five.
I understand that, but it's out of order. It needs to be addressed at a school board meeting.
But it goes back to how much we're paying. Who's yelling? Mrs. Howard, I'm asking a question and I don't rudely
I'm
interrupt
sorry,
you.
you'll speak to the moderator.
So,
I'm
okay.
speaking to them both.
So that is an $8,000 item. What line item does that appear in? Where is that? So it was just approved
Okay,
on
that's-
January 11th before the warrant article was approved before January 11th. And the budget committee meeting was before January 11th, and they just approved this on January 11th. So where is this money coming from? And why wasn't it put out to bid? It's our money. We talked about our money and being fiscally responsible. I'm wanting to know how we're spending this money and why we're spending this money.
1,100 account.
So it's the general fund for a consulting? Is that normal procedure?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yes, he says yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Desmond Douglas. I'd like to make a motion to move the question, or the article, rather.
A motion has been made to move the article.
Article as amended is on the warrant right
It's
now.
not
There's
warrant,
no further
it's
discussion.
Closed
Okay.
for, closed for reconsideration.
Okay, I will take a motion for reconsideration.
I'm
Well,
going to
motion
close
Wait a minute, I'm
motion
sorry.
to restrict reconsideration.
I'll take a motion to restrict reconsideration
So moved.
of Article 3.
So moved.
Christopher Adgeropoulos moves, Sandy Wyatt seconds. Thank you. Article 4, to see if the, oh, sorry. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article number 3, please raise your cards. All those opposed? The motion is passed. Article 3 is restricted regarding reconsideration. Article 4, to see if the school district will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Alton School District and the Alton Teachers Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels. Year 2016 to 2017, estimated increase, $104,521. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $104,521.00 for the 2016-17 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal year in accordance with the most recent collective bargaining agreement. The Alton School Board recommends $104,521 by a vote of 4-0. The Alton Budget Committee recommends $104,521. $521 by a vote of 7-0. Who makes a motion on this article?
Motion to move the article.
Steve Miller. Who seconds this?
Second.
Krista Ageropoulos. Who would like to speak to this
I'll speak
article?
to it.
Mr.
Speak
Miller?
it? I
Yes,
speak it?
please.
Thank you. The Alton Teachers and the Alton Teachers Association and the school board negotiated a one-year teacher's contract that will cost the taxpayers $104,521. The contract breaks down as follows. This moves all teachers to their proper step and track once and for all due to 2010 and 2011 having them being frozen in place, those being difficult economic times. There's a longevity stipend of $9,866 for those teachers who have completed 11 or more years of service to the Alton School District. This is obviously due for retention purposes. There's a credit of $15,339, which is due to a 2% increase in the teacher's cost, representing a teacher's contribution increase of their insurance from 12 to 14%. The reasoning is as follows. For retention and recruitment, we must remain competitive, especially in the math and sciences. Under the heading of putting the kids first, we are going back to a 180-day schedule, but adding an additional 20 minutes of instructional seat time per day. This additional 3,600 minutes of instructional seat time enables us to add one whole instructional period per day. This can be used for, but not including, unified arts, intervention, core curriculum, instruction, PE, gifted and talented, enrichment. Nobody can scientifically dispute that more instructional seat time does not correlate to higher proficiencies and more competencies, higher test results, and higher achievement levels. There's a direct correlation between instructional seat time and results. We believe that $104,000 is a cheap price to pay for making a significant start to turn Alton Central School around from mediocre performance to educational excellence.
Okay. Is there any discussion for Article 4?
Jeffrey Clay from Alton. I have a few questions and concerns. I rise in opposition to it. And the reason is it doesn't go far enough. $104,000 is just not enough of an increase for the teachers in salary and benefits. I think that you should have worked harder, been more tolerant, more lenient, and especially with all the money that's available, to reward the teachers. I see here that it says place the teachers on their proper due track, or whatever the case might be. I would have thought that once you reach an agreement, that should have taken place no matter what. Okay, that's just a good thing to do. So where's the increase? Where's the benefits? It says here it's an increase in salary and benefits. What benefits? What salary? Where are the increases? And I want to point out also here, if you're a teacher working in the Alton School District and this is approved, and you're on track 13, you get nothing. Nothing. Everybody else is going to get a little bit of something, just a very tiny little bit, but these people stay the same. So even if you bump them up one step or two steps, it doesn't matter. This salary's the same. That's a problem with it as well. You need to treat everybody fairly. And I find it very offensive that, I don't know how to say this, but the speaker prior is equating $104,000 is going to make our teachers go from being mediocre teachers to excellent teachers. That's just not good.
Yes.
Edie Miller, I just want to say that this isn't a school board's decision entirely, that the teachers have a union rep that's supposed to be fighting for them, and maybe somebody should bring that up. The union reps, I don't argue the teachers should be getting paid well, but maybe it needs to be brought at the collective bargaining table and not just here.
Thank you.
I'd like to point out that the taxpayers have absolutely no representation in the collective bargaining process.
Any further discussion?
Andrea Crusoe, I'd like to point out we don't vote on any other public servants' contracts besides teachers. We don't vote on firefighters, we don't vote on plow drivers, we don't vote on town clerks, but we do vote on teachers. That's it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Article 4? Hearing none and seeing none, I will...
Make a move to reconstruct.
I will take a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article 4. It's... Steve Miller makes the motion. Krista Ageropoulos seconds it. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration, please raise your cards. All those opposed? It is passed for Article 4 is restricted from reconsideration. Article 5, special warrant article. Shall the school district, if Article 4 is defeated, authorize the governing body to one special meeting at its option to address Article 4 cost items only? Who makes a motion to the article?
I move the article.
Steve Miller. Who seconds this?
I do.
Krista Ageropoulos. Who would like to speak to the article?
Self-explanatory. If the contract doesn't pass, we can have another meeting.
Okay, any discussion on Article 5? Hearing none and seeing none, I will take a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article number 5.
So move.
Steve Miller, seconded by Krista Ageropoulos. Article 6, special warrant article. To see if the... I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Those in favor of restriction for Article number 5, please, reconsideration. Thank you. All those opposed? The article has passed. Article 5 is restricted from reconsideration. Article 6, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,000 and no cents to be added to the existing Building and Grounds Expendable Trust created March 11, 2008 under RSA 198:20-C for the purpose of building, repairing, and maintaining in school facilities. The Alton School Board recommends $60,000 by a vote of 4-0. The Alton Budget Committee recommends $60,000 by a vote of 6-1. Who makes a motion to the article?
I would like to make a motion to move this article as read by the moderator.
Marilyn St. Cyr, seconded. Sandy Wyatt. Who would like to speak to the article?
I'm assuming this article probably is pretty self-explanatory in terms of building, repair, and maintaining school facilities. I can give you a few of the items quickly, and there has been asbestos abatement coming up in 3 phases. There are windows needed in 3 rooms, building and grounds, work ramp and stairs at the SAU, elevator repairs by the gymnasium, or possible chairlift, one or the other, and discussion about a replacement freezer and refrigerator which are located outside, just outside of the cafeteria in the school building. Those are some of the items.
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 6?
Jeffrey Clay, I'm curious, 2 questions. How much money is currently in this account, and how often is money, or has money from this account been used for other things in the past?
Mrs. St. Cyr?
There is $189,000 that's been set aside for asbestos abatement. I don't have the figures. Yeah, I know that, yeah. There is $60,000 per year to be done in 3 different phases. What was your other question?
Has money from this expendable trust been used for other things other than existing buildings and grounds?
I do not believe that has been done. No, you can't.
Okay, so we have $189,000 in there now, but we need another 60?
That total amount of, we're going to be using 180,000 of it for asbestos abatement. How fast we use it depends on how fast the floor itself deteriorates as it gets washed and washed and washed every time. So we have an environmental company that comes in on a regular basis to tell us when it's getting to a critical stage that we have to spend the money right away. So 180 of the $189,000 that's in there is for one thing only, and that's asbestos abatement. And that's something that, for the safety of the kids, we can't fool around with.
Is there a cost estimate for that already?
$180,000.
Now it's been submitted by the company to get rid of it?
That, I don't have it in front of me. No, it's
I just want-
$180,000. Captain?
I understand that's how much is in there, but how much has anybody figured out how much it's going to cost to remove the asbestos?
All right. We used it, what we did was we estimated on based on the recent asbestos floor removal in the cafeteria? In the cafeteria, and what that cost on a per square foot basis. We're okay.
Any further discussion on Article 6? Hearing none and seeing none, I will take a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article number 6.
I would like to make a motion to restrict further reconsideration on Article 6.
Marilyn St. Cyr, who seconds that? Sandy Wyatt. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article number 6, please raise your card. All those opposed? The article is restricted, Article number 6 is restricted regarding reconsideration. Article 7, special warrant article, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 and no cents to be added to the existing boiler capital reserve fund created March 9th, 1999 under RSA 35:1 for the purpose of repairing, replacing water heaters, boilers, and ventilation systems. The Alton School Board recommends $40,000 by a vote of 4-0. The Alton School Budget Committee recommends $40,000 by a vote of 6-1. Who makes a motion on this article? Sandy Wyatt, who seconds?
Marilyn?
Marilyn St. Cyr. Sandy, you want to speak to this motion?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There's only $8,119 left in that account, and we have several boiler systems throughout the school, so pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, Article 7 is open for discussion.
Christine Simone. I was wondering how much it would cost to repair the boilers that consistently break down in the school? To replace
Yeah, it
them?
would depend on what broke. I mean, like on my car, if the brakes went or the engine went, it would be different.
I'm not talking about a patch job that they always seem to get. I'm talking about removing them and putting in a new one.
Kathy, we just replaced one, right?
And do we have records on how much it's cost us to maintain those boilers over the past 3 years as to what it would cost to replace them?
All right, we recently replaced the boiler. That cost $33,000. We have 3 others that effectively may go, can go, are always being repaired. It was the recommendation of the Budget Committee that we look to provide a CIP plan in terms of replacing those boilers instead of the extraordinary costs of putting a Band-Aid on them and fix them. We agree with the recommendation of the Budget Committee, and we'll be bringing that up during one of the school board meetings going forward, what we could do with a CIP plan.
Do we have a total on how much the repairs were last year or in the previous year?
30. Yeah.
It's in the budget, yes.
It is? Okay.
They're looking at, it is in the documents that were handed out, so they're just looking that up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Page
what is
15
that
of
amount?
18, she said.
It's on page 15 of 18. Is there any further discussion on Article 7? Hearing none and seeing none, I will take a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article number 7.
So moved.
Sandy Wyatt, who seconds? Marilyn St. Cyr. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article number 7, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Article number 7 is restricted against reconsideration. Article 8, special warrant article, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 and no cents to be added to the existing Security and Safety Expendable Trust Fund created March 14th, 2000, under RSA 198:20-C for the purpose of maintaining the safety of the school buildings. The Alton School Board recommends $50,000 by a vote of 4-0. The Alton Budget Committee recommends $50,000 by a vote of 4-3. Who makes a motion on this article?
I do.
Krista Ageropoulos. Who seconds?
Second.
Steve Miller. Who speaks to this motion?
I do. The balance in this account right now is 4 cents. That's not a typo, 4 cents, 4 pennies. What we're looking to do with this money is we have plans on expanding, improving, and replacing the fencing that goes around the school at this time. That would be a safety improvement. It would also help to keep cars off the fields and protect the fields. We've already gotten 3 estimates just going out on a, looking at what we would be looking at for a ballpark on this, and would be looking at $25,000 to $32,000 in those 3 quotes to replace just to replace, not to expand, just to replace the existing fencing that's there now. Any leftovers, monies left from that would be used towards security cameras as well.
Any discussion for Article 8? Hearing none and seeing none, I will take a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article number 8.
So moved.
Second.
Krista Ageropoulos, seconded by Steve Miller. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article number 8, raise your cards. All those opposed? Article number 8 is restricted regarding reconsideration. I do not know what's wrong with me with that word today. Thank you. Article 9, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $100,000 and no cents to be added to the existing special education capital reserve fund previously established March 14th, 1987, under RSA 35:B. This sum to come from fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation. The Alton School Board recommends $100,000 by a vote of 4-0, and the Alton Budget Committee does not recommend $100,000 by a vote of 3-4. Who makes a motion to this article?
I do.
Steve Miller. Who seconds this?
Second.
Mr. Ageropoulos. Who speaks to this motion?
I'll speak to it, please.
Thank you.
Okay, there is currently $292,000 in the account, and we have already said that we are transferring $100,000 of that into the operating budget to alleviate taxes, leaving us with a balance of $192,000. Okay, the Special Education Capital Reserve Fund is used for unexpected special education costs such as student private placement at another institution, including tuition, transportation, therapies, examination, both physical and social, outsourced services such as hearing and vision therapy, a one-on-one nurse, etc. A cost for 2 students typically runs around $130,000 a year. and this cost typically increases as the student gets older. It's important to remember that Alton Central School pays for Alton students at the Prospect Mountain High School. So this amount of money is not just for the elementary school, but for the high school as well. This is a state-mandated cost. We have very little control, sometimes absolutely none. And this money must be paid before other educational costs, including salaries or books or what have you. When it's a mandated cost, it's exactly what it is. That gets paid first. If this budget is approved, there will be a balance of $192,012 left in the account. It is difficult to budget this account because it is not unusual for 1 or 2 mid-year transfers either to the Prospect Mountain High that come in from out of town to the Prospect Mountain High School, all elementary school, throwing all budgets out of whack. Right now, we can handle about 2 students. A third one comes in, we have a serious problem. If this is not approved, the voters have chosen to play Russian roulette with the ACS budget. Your school board is taking a prudent risk management position to replenish this account, because if we have to take money and we have to use every dime and then some, that money has to get paid first.
Any discussion?
Hi, Jeffrey Clay from Alton. Well, I'm thinking about it, I just want to, the comment that we're playing Russian roulette, in other words, he's intimidating us, threatening us, that if we don't vote for this, we've done something wrong. That's what he said, okay? I'm just saying, that is inappropriate. Now, I want to address the article. He says what it's for. It's for this. But then he just says, well, we took $100,000 out of it and use it to offset taxation. So obviously it's not used for its intended purpose. That has to stop, and the only way we can stop that is by voting no for this. Because all we're doing now is voting for you to be able to take another $100,000 and throw in the operating budget. And from what we've already heard, you don't need any money in the operating budget because you gave, what, $700,000 back last year. So I'd vote against this.
Thank you.
I'd like to answer that if I may. The $100,000 was transferred directly into the special education operating budget to be used for special education only.
This can't be used for anything else.
Thank you. Yes.
Christine Simone. I'm not sure if people know that our special education students that go over a certain amount of money, I think last year it was $52,000 that the taxpayer has to pay. The state does return a portion of that money. Also, too, some of the services our special education students receive are Medicaid eligible. And I know we do receive a significant amount of money throughout the school year through Medicaid for the students who are eligible. So that money also is a revenue source for our district.
Just to clarify that, though, Christine, the money that we receive by Medicaid, we cannot spend. We have to return that to the town. So that'll come out of the budget, but that's part of, we returned $809 or $6,000 last year to the town, and out of that, $121,000 was Medicaid revenue. Just so you know, that's not anything we can ever spend. We can't touch that. It has to go right back to the town.
Okay, I did request those figures, and I was told I had to come into the SAU to get them. Unfortunately, I work all day, and I can't come there and get them, so I wasn't aware of the actual
I can't
amount.
address that here. I can't address that here. I'm just sharing that with you just to clarify.
But that is money that does go back to the district.
It goes back to the district, but we still have to expend that money out of that year's budget, because as you know, we have a budget that goes from July 1st to June 30th. So when that money comes in, it goes back to the town. There's nothing more we can do with it. We can't hold it. We can't spend it. We can't touch a dime of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
You mentioned there's about $292,000 in that account. $100,000 has been transferred to another account. So essentially, you're asking for $100,000 to replenish. Is that true?
That's correct.
How often is this account accessed?
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Anna Ransom. When was the last time we utilized funds from this account?
We have not.
And how long has the account been in place?
Pardon me?
How long has the account been in place?
Since
1987.
Got it?
So since 1987, we've had,
1987, it says here, right in the amendment.
okay. We've never pulled money out of this account, but we're,
We have, it's just not what,
I'm unclear on that answer.
Okay. Who's going to answer this one? Krista, she's getting the info.
What's the question, please?
She wants to know if the money has been utilized at any point.
And Kathy says no.
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 Thank you.
The answer is no.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none and seeing none?
Move to,
Who makes the motion to
I do.
restrict reconsideration? Steve Miller, who seconds it?
I do.
Chris Agiropoulos. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article number 9, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Article number 9 is restricted regarding reconsideration. I think we're going to take a 10-minute recess here, and then we'll go on from there. So I have no idea what time is it? We will resume at 3:20. Thank you.
Sounds fun.